Hey, what's going on? Arden, Zwelling, and Ben Nicholson-Smith here to talk a little MLB postseason with you for your Wednesday morning on October 14th. Ben, let's start in the NL, where the Braves are now up 2-0, which is really a testament to how well they've played because the Dodgers on paper have to be the best team in baseball. They just had a remarkable regular season. But Atlanta's pitching has been superb. Freddie Freeman's had a couple big swings. Ozzie Albies a couple big swings. The Dodgers made it interesting at the end of game 2 against Atlanta's bullpen. But that's also where things kind of get interesting from a series perspective, right? Because the Braves were forced to use Mark Melancon in that spot, who's now pitched in both of the first 2 games of the series. Chris Martin's pitched in both games of the series. And with how these series are structured with no off days, you're playing every night. It's here in the middle games where some of the managerial decisions get a little bit more complex, right? Can you go to guys on 3 consecutive nights? Will you have to dig a bit deeper into your bullpen than you otherwise would have liked? What's the depth of your rotation look like for the Braves? Max Fried and Ian Anderson are solid, but now they're looking at throwing out Kyle Wright in game 3, whose 2020 was pretty underwhelming. And then for the Dodgers, they obviously need all hands on deck here because they've got to win 4 or 5 going forward. They don't necessarily have the luxury of prioritizing rest or trying to line things up for game 6 or game 7. So then just from each team's perspective, how do you think that strategy is impacted for these next few games with Atlanta having taken this lead?
It's definitely different having the no off days, right? 7 in a row potentially. That's a long stretch in postseason baseball and something different than what we're used to seeing. I think for Atlanta, it will mean going to some different bullpen arms. We've already seen that to some extent. I think it even means relying deeper into your bench, right? I mean, does that mean a DH day for a guy like Travis d'Arnaud just to get him off his feet? So those are decisions that the Braves can make from a position of strength right now. Whereas, as you said, the Dodgers are in a bit more of a position of desperation. And Clayton Kershaw, who was scratched ahead of game 2 because of back spasms, still not able to take the mound for game 3. It's unclear exactly when he'll be able to contribute or in what role. So the Dodgers have to make things up on the fly. But, as much as Atlanta will probably push its depth a little bit, the Dodgers have to rely on their best pitchers and best players if they're going to get back in this thing.
Yeah, it's Julio Urias getting the start for the Dodgers against Kyle Wright. I'm kind of wondering if we see a lot of runs scored in this one, and 2 managers having to take a pretty deep dig into their bullpens. Now on the AL side, it's an even worse situation for the Astros with the Rays taking a 3-game series lead on Tuesday night. Obviously, zero margin for error for Houston here. No room to mess around. They need to win 4 consecutive do or die games to stay alive, which is quite a task. And hey, kudos to the Rays. Like, give them their flowers. They are Tampa Bay raising extremely hard in this series. They are pitching out of jam after jam. They've stranded 31 Astros base runners over 3 games. So that tells you how well they've pitched in really big spots. They're getting really big swings in really high leverage moments, whether it's Manuel Margot or it's Randy Arozarena. They're defending masterfully, stealing hits all over the diamond, perfectly positioned, taking like really well assessed risks in the outfield. Like you look at Hunter Renfroe in game 3 coming in aggressively to make plays on dying balls. Those are balls that if they get by him, it's a completely different game. And he really assessed sort of the risk reward of those scenarios like in real time in a high pressure spot really, really well. And I mean, like, this is just what the Rays do. They play really well all around the diamond. That said, I think the Astros have probably played better than a 3-0 series deficit suggests. They've lost a 1-run game, a 2-run game, and now a 3-run game. So they've been right there in all 3. Like, it's not like they have been blown out. So I feel like we haven't heard the last of them in this series is what I'm saying. But where do you land, Ben, on the possibility of a sweep here, with the Rays sending a pretty good arm to the hill in Tyler Glass now?
Well, I know a lot of people in baseball will not be disappointed at all if the Rays sweep after the Astros cheating scandal emerged in the course of the last year or so. Yeah, I think Houston has definitely played better than their record would indicate. That lineup is so good. And like you said, Arden, I mean, you look at some of those defensive plays that the Rays are making to just absolutely rob the Astros of hits. I mean, exceptional outfield defense from Margot and from Renfroe and from Kiermaier. Incredible defense. Adames, of course, in the infield. G-Man Choi with the stretches. This is a very good defensive team, and that helps complement a pitching staff that obviously is among baseball's elite. So the Rays are a great team. The more I watch the Rays, and we watched a lot of them in the regular season covering the Blue Jays, but the more I watch this team, the more impressed I am by this team. They're a great ball club. But to me, the biggest question in this series going forward really revolves around Jose Altuve and his defense at second base, because you look at the throws that he's making, or I should say attempting to make, and they are not good. And this is, it's hard to say, is it mental? Is it physical? We see this periodically with players, and it's hard to answer that question from the outside. Dusty Baker says that he'll keep going to Jose Altuve at second base, and that's a player's manager move right there. But man, you're talking about a guy who cannot make routine throws right now for whatever reason, and this is a must-win game for the Houston Astros.
Yes, and they are sending Zach Greinke to the hill in that must-win game, which is a pretty good guy to be sending to the hill, likely future Hall of Famer. And hey, if this is the last we see of the Astros this season, like at least we're getting one more outing of Greinke, which I am very appreciative of. For those of us who enjoy like a crafty sort of idiosyncratic pitcher, right? A pitcher rather than a thrower. Zach Greinke is just an experience. So I love this matchup, the power of glass now versus the guile of Greinke. So very much looking forward to that. Game 3 of the NLCS will go first at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then it'll be game 4 of the ALCS at 8:40 p.m. Eastern. As always, you can catch all the action on Sportsnet.